As a child, I was very adventurous, like a lot of boys my age, seeking out abandoned old barns, condemned houses, and boarded up old buildings. Well, you get the idea. If it was vacant, I had to explore it. I actually became quite talented at getting in and out of very tight entrances. Once I was inside, it was like a dream come true. I always found the most interesting things, but I never kept any of my finds. I was an explorer, not a thief. Sometimes you could see the passing of time through old items like tools, books, newspapers, and tons of other things that lay untouched for who knows how long. I was very proud of the places I had explored. In 5th grade, I had taken a photography class. For my birthday, I got a 35mm camera. Finally, I would be able to show my friends the cool places I had explored. Photography consumed me. I constantly pushed the envelope for what I believed to be that priceless picture. The old mill stood on the outer edge of town. It had been closed since the early 60s, according to my dad. I had mastered picking an old lock on the grain door. I loved going in there. The place was full of old stuff to look through, but my favorite part was the silo. It was the tallest structure in the town. A pretty creepy ladder inside took you to the top. Once you were there, it was amazing. You could see the entire town, including my house. One day, while I was up there, I noticed a glare coming from this huge wooded area to the north. It was like someone was tipping a mirror toward the sun. Because of the trees, I couldn't see if someone was there, only the flashing glare. It flashed 10 times and then stopped. Curiosity had me. Disregarding what curiosity did to the cat, I made my way down, locked the green door, and pedaled my bike as fast as I could toward the woods. It was a tiring ride, but I pushed on until I got to the path at the edge of the woods. By this time, evening was upon me. The woods, well, it had a creepy feel. I convinced myself that someone may be in trouble. The glare may have been a call for help. I had to do this. With a couple deep breaths, I rode down the shadowy path. The further I rode, the darker it got. I looked up into the trees. The foliage was so thick, I couldn't see the sky. Suddenly, I saw a large tube blocking the path. I swerved left and locked up my brakes. At first, I wasn't sure what it was. The darkness camouflaged it. As I got closer, I realized it was a culvert, which is a large pipe they bury underground to divert rainwater away from houses. Usually, they're connected to more culvert pipes. They create a tunnel that could go for a long way. Normally, they empty into a retention pond or a low area of land. What was odd was the forest sat higher than the town, and the culverts are buried horizontally. This one came out of the ground on a 45-degree angle. About 3 feet of it stuck out of the ground like it was going to shoot a missile out of it. It was obvious it had been there for a long time. The steel was rusted and plants had grown all around it. I figured I needed to go further to find whoever made the glare. Then I looked down and saw a little girl's doll. She was dirty and missing hair, but next to her was a jagged piece of mirror. Frantically, I looked around for whoever it was, but no one was there. I called out, Is there anyone here? There was no response. I laid my bike down and walked to the culvert. I put my head in the hole and called again. My voice echoed, hello, 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 but still no response. The darkness consumed the inside of the culvert. I remembered my camera in my backpack, so I grabbed it and shot a couple random shots down the large pipe. The flash only lit the inside for a second. I couldn't get a good look to see if there was anyone inside. I called a third time. The echoes followed just like before. Sure that a lost little girl was probably curled up in there, scared to death, I climbed into the culvert. It was a fairly snug fit, but I continued down the 45-degree slope. I started feeling the blood rushing to my head. I took another shot with the camera in hopes the flash might show the lost little girl, but all I could see was more culvert. I'd been crawling for a pretty good distance. My hands and knees began to hurt from the ripped corrugating of the pipe. I called again, hello. This time there was no echo. Suddenly, I heard a child's laughter. It quickly became a giggle. You will stay forever and ever just like me. Then she began to giggle again. It sounded like she was right in front of me. I snapped another picture, but the flash showed that no one was there. As my eyes tried to readjust to the darkness, two very large hands grabbed me around my neck and began pulling me deeper into the culvert. It was so powerful. I felt like I was being pulled by a truck. The more I resisted, the tighter its nails dug into my neck. I was pulled down what felt like 20 feet in a matter of seconds. Suddenly, I stopped to the sound of the little girl's giggles. The massive hands released their hold on my neck and I could feel its breath. I lay there, crippled by fear. Whatever this was, I was sure I was no match for it. I tried to slowly crawl backwards, then a whisper in my ear said, forever and ever. I blindly swiped in the direction of the whisper. It was more out of fear than courage. My fist made hard contact with the inner wall of the culvert. Instantly, my hand began to throb with pain. Where are you? I yelled. The giggling got louder and seemed to be circling me, not just around me, but over the top of me as well. I started crawling backwards as fast as I could. The diameter of the culvert was snug to my body. This made turning around impossible. I kept looking under my arm to see behind me in hopes of seeing the opening I crawled in from. With nightfall, the entrance became invisible. Regardless, I worm crawled as fast as I could. Soon I could smell the forest air. It had a musty smell like old rotting wood, but it was very welcoming. If you can't have a light at the end of the tunnel, then the smell of moldy decomposing wood is just as good. Finally, I felt the opening of the culvert under my feet. I climbed out and took a deep breath. I grabbed my bike and began cautiously trying to navigate the dark path. I got about 50 yards from the culvert. I stopped and grabbed my camera. It was a little tattered, but I was able to use the flash to light the rest of the way out of the woods. Once I cleared the woods, a full moon lit the rest of my ride home. I was never so happy to see my room. I climbed in bed. The blankets gave me the feeling I was finally safe. My camera and I now had a special bond. So, with the lights on, holding it to my chest, I fell asleep. In what felt like the blink of an eye, I woke to my room filled with sunshine. I was sure if I told anyone, they wouldn't believe me. I ate some breakfast, grabbed my bike, and headed for the mill. At the top of the silo, I stared at the woods. I kept waiting for the glare. I told myself, don't look for what you don't want to find, but I couldn't take my eyes off of the woods. After about an hour, I decided to put the whole thing behind me, like it never happened. I rode home, removed the film from my camera, and put it in my bottom drawer. I feared what might be on there. I was sure that whatever grabbed me was not human. Evil takes many forms, and if it's on that film, I didn't want to see it, ever. Developing it felt like I would be inviting it into my life. The thought of that truly terrifies me. I never returned to the woods or the mill. Even now, just talking about this, I can hear the childlike giggles taunting me. I'm 40 years old now. I'm married with 2 beautiful little boys. My exploring days are behind me, and I certainly don't encourage my sons to. That horrid day has never left my mind. Whenever I see a glare, I literally can't move. Random dreams are quickly turned to nightmares when the thought of what might be on that film takes over my dreams. I thought I could put it behind me, but whatever that was that lured me into the culvert,